All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are ready. Nvidia, pump it up. Will it break $130 a share? Nvidia hit 130 like right before after hours yesterday, and this thing is up big. The whole market's kind of crazy right now, to be honest, man. The market's bounced back so heavily from the yen carry drama that we got last week and the week before, really. So it's interesting to watch the market right now. Again, the last few weeks we've seen huge rebounds in stocks, like big rebounds. This is on the heels of economic data. Like we did get some, I would say, relatively favorable CPI inflation data last week. We also have, again, as I mentioned like many times yesterday, we have the Jackson Hole Symposium as well as the Fed minutes report tomorrow. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But look at Nvidia, man. Nvidia right under 130. Just big movements, man. What a huge freaking rebound. Wow. Just what a big rebound. Huge. Bitcoin even bounced back. It's over 60K now. So Bitcoin's looking good. What's up, Yair, Omar, Justin, Blaze, Ray, Pawn, Mike, Sam, Fox, Tiny, Keegan, Justin. What's up, guys? Good morning. Now, the Fed minutes is always on a Wednesday. Always on a Wednesday. So the Fed minutes report is tomorrow, I think. Right? Yeah. Yeah, Fed minutes report's tomorrow. So today's kind of boring, but in terms of economic reports, right? But after today, we got a lot of stuff. Let me make myself a little bit bigger here. So I went to jiu-jitsu yesterday, bro, and I rolled with the same guy again, and he busted my lip a little bit. Yeah, dude, my wife is sitting there like, what the heck, bro? John's coming home beat up. Like, look at me. Like, look, I busted my lip a little bit, like here. You can kind of see it. I still got the black eye. Ended up busting open in jiu-jitsu yesterday. Jiu-jitsu is a tough sport, bro. Honestly, I don't, it's fun, but man, I'm coming home beat up. My wife's like, what's going on? Hey, well, good luck, Yair. John, people want to know why gold is so high. Yeah, I mean, gold breaking lifetime highs is what's going on. Yesterday, it went all the way up to 2564s, 2563s. Or this is this morning. So this morning, gold broke lifetime highs. If we put it up on screen here. Look, here's lifetime highs. It's actually getting ready to break it again right now for gold. So gold lifetime highs here. Crazy bull movement, to be honest. Yeah. Debt crisis, rate cut, fears, inflation. But inflation was better than expected, so, yeah. All right, 2564 is gold just broke lifetime highs and then immediately retraced, but just broke lifetime highs again. It's at 2564, 2,564 an ounce. Crazy movement here. Hip escapes are for getting out of bed in the morning. Yeah. Copper. Yeah, man. What a crazy movement. Again, gold just broke lifetime highs. This is the lifetime high for gold. It's never been higher than where it was just now. So, yeah, the yen carry trade sparked this a lot. Inflation, recession fears. Like either way the economy goes, people usually like flock to gold is what it is, right? So, regardless, they're gonna flock to gold is what happens. Yeah. Craziness. All right. Yeah, gold, honestly, and again, gold is a great long-term investment usually, right? The problem is that you got to catch it at the right time, right? Because like, again, I said this 1,000 times yesterday, but gold, it's generally a good long-term investment, right? Here's a long-term chart. This is 2008 right here. But like the problem, let me get myself out the way real quick. The problem is that it can downtrend for a decade plus, you know, and even longer than that. Like if we put up a longer term chart, I think yesterday I put up a long term chart. Let me see if it'll let me. No. Yeah, I'll have to go back. That's the max. So these are gold futures. So let's see if it'll let me. See if it'll let me, if I look at a month's time frame per candle. Yeah, so here's the 1980s, right? Here's a weekly. So again, the problem, like here's 1980. Gold hit highs at the time of almost 900, or maybe it was, yeah, almost $900 an ounce. And then it downtrended until 2000. So gold literally downtrended for 20 years, you know, a massive amount of time before it really rebounded. Now it had some spikes, but it never got close to 900 again for 20 years. And so again, we've seen another surge in gold, and then it downtrends for 8 years, and then we've seen another surge in gold. And now the question is, like, when does it start to downtrend? You know, honestly, and I like gold, but I think there's probably some good trade ideas in terms of like shorting gold long term. You know, gold is one of the only assets where I would be okay with shorting it for like over a year. Because again, when gold, like the movement is just really consistent. Like it climaxes up here and then it downtrends, right? It climaxes and then it downtrends, you know? And so now so a lot of people would certainly call this a climax, and then we'll see if it starts to downtrend. There's a lot of like other stuff going on here though. So it's not, there's a lot of like macroeconomic stuff. There's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on that all influences the price of gold. But yeah. Who can tell me why Polestar was... I mean, Polestar, brother, like, you know, again, like, anytime you invest in a stock, you know, a lot of people like to look at technicals, deep, like, technicals. A lot of people like to look at earnings and all this stuff. I like to do all of it mixed with, like, a thought experiment of the company, right? So every time I look at a company long-term, like Roku, I say, what does this company look like in 20 years? Right? Like, what are the risks? What are the vulnerabilities in 20 years? Right? And when you look at Polestar, it's the same argument I give for every single up-and-coming EV brand. The ultimate problem is it does not have enough consumers interested in buying a freaking Polestar. Right? Like, who wants to buy a Polestar when there's so many cooler options out there? Like, I get it. I think it's Volvo, right? Volvos are great cars. They're safe. They're heavy. They're like tanks. They really are. But the amount of people that are interested in buying it, like, automotives are a very low-margin industry. You know, I don't know about EVs as much, but they're low margin. And so when you take that low margin aspect of it and then you mix it with not that many people are actually, not that many people even know what a Polestar is. That's a really tough business to be optimistic about, I think. You know, now this was a little bit unrelated to your question, which is why did it fall so much yesterday? And I really don't know. Maybe it had some bad news. I could try to take a look at it, but... All right, so Polestar went up 20% on Friday. So Polestar's still up relative to where it was on Friday. This is probably just a profit taking. Like, Polestar went up. Cantor Fitzgerald reiterated overweight on Polestar, maintained a $3 price target. But Polestar went up. Polestar started the day at 72 cents on Friday. You know, it ended the day at 90 cents, and then it pulled back to 85 cents. So it's probably just profit taking, realistically. Kia is better? No. But the difference between this bow, like the main difference, brother, is that Polestar is Kia is better, 100%. Kia, listen, where I live at least, right? And I live in a pretty like upscale city that is expensive, right? So I see a lot more supercars here where I live. I see a lot more like Cybertrucks. I see a lot of Corvettes. Like everybody's got a Corvette, the new ones. But there's a difference here. I see a lot of Kias. Kia did something very smart with their business model, right? Kia did something very smart. I'm going to put the SPY up here as well so we can kind of look at all this stuff. Kia did something very smart. What they did is they made their modern luxuries that are actually pretty luxurious, pretty nice, like pretty cool cars, to be honest. They're known for being cheap, but they're pretty cool, and they made them look like Bentleys, you know? So like the Kia car looks like a Bentley. And they did this, honestly, almost certainly intentionally, right? They did this almost certainly intentionally. This is a Kia. This is the new Kia right here. Let me show you. Let me find it. I lost it. Point is, they designed their cars to look like Bentleys, you know, and they did this intentionally for sure. You know, they did this intentionally to bring in people. It looks upper class. It looks like sophisticated, right? Like this car right here. Like they did this intentionally to look like a Bentley. And it worked. You see these driving all around. And sometimes I'm with my wife and I'm like, hey, is that a Bentley? And my wife's like, no, that's a Kia. 100% intentional. 100% intentional. But the point is, Kias are growing heavy, you know. Oh yeah, dude, dogs can hear super well. Yeah, like fireworks get a lot of dogs, man. Maybe it's high-end day. Is it high-end day? Yeah, I might be talking about a Genesis. Either way, Kia and Hyundai, very smart. And they're growing a lot. They're certainly more successful than Polestar. Why? Because they've got a big brand. Nobody knows what a Polestar is. Nobody certainly wants to buy a Polestar outside of very obscure, very specific customers. What's your dream car? If I could have any car in the world, probably be like a Bugatti, realistically. But even that's too expensive for my dreams, I think. You know, I would have a really hard time no matter how much money I have, unless I had hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Then it's different, right? And then I'd probably get a Bugatti. If we're just talking about regular supercar, I always liked Acura NSXs. When I was a teenager, I liked twin turbo Toyota Supras, twin turbo 300Zs. Like the tuner culture was something that I was into. I raced like JDM cars. I had a Honda Prelude that I raced a little bit, and yeah, so kind of tuner culture. But I also like muscle cars for sure. There's a lot of cars I would get. You know, McLarens are pretty dope. Like I like McLarens. Ferraris are cool. You got to get one of the upper scale Ferraris. So the problem with Ferrari, and one of the reasons I don't respect Ferrari as much, is because they're too picky with who they sell cars to. You know. I'm not gonna be too specific, Tyre, just because, like, yeah, it was like a '90s Prelude. 5-speed. It was fun. Yeah, the Ferrari, as long as it's not the base Ferrari, because honestly, to be completely honest, I've looked at buying them, right? I've looked at buying them in terms of investments. You know, and the ones that you'll see for sale the most are the Ferrari Californias, right? Like, here's an example. Right now, you can get this Ferrari California 2011 for $70K. only 21,000 miles. I'm guessing this is a this is getting like rebuilt somewhere down the line. But you can get this Ferrari for 70K right now. That's very cheap. And these are the ones that you see all the time. You know, which is cool. It's cool. I can't even lie. It's pretty cool. But, you know, the reason I have a hard time justifying this is because even with it being so cheap is that, like, this thing's going to get beat by a freaking Tesla sedan right now. A Tesla sedan is going to smoke this car. And so what are you really getting? You're just getting a name from it. It's not faster than the other cars on the road. It's not more expensive. It probably handles worse, realistically. And so what are you really getting? Like, yeah, it turns heads. So I guess if your ultimate like reason to get it is to turn heads, that's cool. But even if you bought this car, like, you probably get this car for 100K, 150K if you wanted a new one. The new ones are cooler for sure. Like, some of these are really nice. Like, look, here's this black one's pretty cool. I just think you're gonna, for 100K, you're gonna be able to get a lot faster cars. Anyways, back to the point. Nvidia trying to break over 130s here. Yeah, Blaze, you're probably right. I mean, that's probably true for almost everything. Oh, Ferrari, the stock? Is it a race? Is the stock RACE? I don't know, man. I've been watching it. It's up too much for me right now. Like, here's Ferrari, the stock. Right? Like, here's a yearly chart. It's just up too much. Here's this year, specifically. Like, since 2024... it's up a huge percentage. It's up like 50% plus, over 50%. It looks like, maybe not. It's up about 50%. That's a little bit too extended on the upside for me to want to buy it up. Now, if we pull back some, sure. Maybe if we pull back to like this level here, I might be interested in it. But it's just up a little bit too much right now. Are you talking about the stock? About long-term investment, Sam? Just killed just killed a fly with my hands at my apartment building. Karate Kid 5 right there, dude. Listen, you're ready. Yeah, again, the cars, I'm not a big Ferrari fan. If I got a car like that, I'd probably get a Lambo. Lambos are cooler to me, you know. Like, if I'm spending a couple $100 grand on a car, I'm gonna get a Lamborghini or something cooler than a Ferrari. No offense to Ferrari. Alright, guys. But yeah, Ferrari stock breaking highs looks really nice up there. But again, it's just up too much. Tesla has been bouncing back today. Tesla, last time I looked at it, broke highs. Still in this upward trend at almost 225 a share. Nasdaq's very flat on the day. Not really doing too much either. But that's alright, as long as it can hold these gains. Honestly, everything's up big from Nvidia yesterday. Nvidia pumped, drugged the whole market back up with us here. And again, this is a huge week. We got the Jackson Hole Symposium. We're going to see whether we're going to cut rates this week is the big thing, right? So that's why Friday is the biggest day of the week this week. Why? Because we have every year we have a yearly economic event. It's called the Jackson Hole Symposium. Jerome Powell speaks. And through this event, we get some understanding of what the Federal Reserve might do to influence the economy this year and moving forward, right? The big question is, when do we cut rates? Really, we're almost certain to cut rates next month. But how much? Is it going to be a really aggressive 50, 75 cut? Is it going to be a, bare minimum 25 basis point cut? I would hope it was 25. I hope it's not larger than that. But again, that's what we got to look forward to this week is Jerome Powell and his Jackson Hole Symposium event. It's a huge, massive event you want to pay attention to. Right, 100% tomato. That's exactly right. Like, if I'm spending 200K, it needs to at least be somewhat competitive. If it can't beat Tesla quarter mile, it needs to at least beat it on a track, Yeah, so the McLaren 765 LT can do freaking 9.3 seconds quarter mile. They're 600K, but they're still pretty cool. Still pretty cool. Like most of the McLarens do sub 11-second quarter mile stock, right? Like, and you can get McLarens for relatively cheap. Like you can get one of these for, you get one of these for like 150, you know. So like if I ever got a supercar, which I'm probably not. Again, I have a really hard time justifying the expense. But you can get one of these for, like I said, 150K. I don't know. But again, for me personally, you know, again, I've said this before, but a lot of people, they make $1 million or whatever they make, and they get some money, and they immediately buy a supercar, and it's just a hard expense. Like, are you going to justify spending 20% of your total net worth on a wildly depreciating asset? I don't know about McLarens and supercars, but I'm guessing they depreciate over time. Maybe that depreciation is less significant because of inflation, and so that's an angle you might want to think about it under, but I have a hard time justifying that expense no matter what. Yeah, so this will do 10.5 quarter mile stock, right? That's pretty good. 10.5. I know the Fast and the Furious made everybody think a 10-second car is like common. 10-second car is obscenely fast, like a drag car. Yeah, 1.1 seconds is honestly too fast. Like for a while, my daughter was like, "Hey, Daddy, I want a Tesla." I don't even care if it's the stock minivan Tesla. No, too fast. It's just too fast. You know, although they're probably pretty safe, but it's just too fast. Yeah. No, I know Tesla. Y'all don't have to sell me on Teslas. But yeah, Dodge. Yeah. Not really. I mean, there are signs. He says, "Hey, John, are there any signs I missed watching Tesla? Just curious, how do you look at it?" Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Tesla's just volatile. There's not really any way to genuinely predict this. I mean, I'm sure some technical people are going to be like, yeah, this super obscure technical, indicator showed up yesterday and signaled this move. But that's mostly fugazi nonsense. Tesla's just going up and down for the most part all year. Essentially, when you zoom out, Tesla's just going up and down. It's going up and down and up and down and up and down. Like, that's all it's really doing. It's just a long-term range. And the question is, you don't know when it's going to start breaking out of this range. You don't know when it's going to start moving up and hold. You don't know when it's going to start moving down and hold. I would bet more so on the upside. But, again, I have no freaking idea what Tesla's going to do. It's just too unpredictable and risky. I like Tesla long-term, though. So Tesla long-term should be fine. But who knows? I might be wrong. Not an investment professional. Don't copy me. Somebody said buy her a cheap car. Nah. If it was a son, maybe. If this is my son, maybe. But my dad bought me total pieces of crap, which is fine. I was grateful for him. His logic was that I need to learn how to change a tire. I need to learn how to fix it if it breaks. I need to learn how to change brake pads, which he did. Yeah. Realistically, we're probably gonna get my daughter like a truck or like a truck or something, or like a 4Runner or some type of SUV. We're in Texas, and so if we get into an accident, it's much more likely that it's gonna be with a truck or an SUV. And so we're just, whatever it is, it's not gonna be a car. Yeah, so the Robotaxi event in October is huge. That's massive. And yeah, we'll see. If they could pull off the Robotaxi event. The only hiccup, I think, in Robotaxi is infrastructure. Like, do they have the approval infrastructure the infrastructure approval to get around the red tape and actually accomplish the robo-taxi, right? That's the only kind of worry that I have regarding it, and I'm assuming that's what they understand, and that hopefully that's why they pushed it back so that they can get it done. But that's what I fear is the robo-taxi infrastructure, to whether they're actually going to be able to get around the red tape and get it. Saw the news event. Seems like Tesla. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Again, I like Tesla long term. Short term, I'm obviously I have no idea what they're gonna do. Robotaxi won't be a reality until later next year. Yeah, I think so as well. I'm not sure. I think there's a race to see who can get it done first, right? So I think that's going on. But yeah, there's gonna be some profit taking this morning. Gonna look for a pullback. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Again, everything's up so much. I think with the big things to watch specifically today, Nvidia. Watch it for $130 is the high of the last couple months. We had this big pullback, big psychological level, whole dollar level. Tapped it yesterday as extended hours started. And so that's a massive thing. Again, the other thing to pay attention to today is the price of gold. Gold recently this morning, less than an hour ago, broke lifetime highs. Gold's recently been tapping it. You can see the new lifetime high is 25.6460. So the new lifetime highs is up here now, and it recently tapped that. So gold has been breaking all-time highs, lifetime highs, and so watch for gold and maybe a continuation, maybe a correction in gold. That's the big thing for there today. Otherwise, tech up big. Apple up to 225, Amazon at 178, Google bouncing back a lot to almost 170s, Microsoft up to 422s, 423s. Everything in tech essentially is gapping up this morning in pre-market. You can look at like Walmart's down slightly. Oil is up a little bit short term, but down technically on the day. So it's rebounded from some dips that it had earlier. Small caps had a big day yesterday too. A lot of people are saying so. Yeah, I always tell people the same thing. Like this is where a lot of traders get it wrong, right? Where a lot of traders get it wrong is like a lot of traders try to call the tops. So a lot of traders try to be the next big short predictor and call the tops of these really healthy companies. So like if you're trying to bet against the strongest companies in the world, I always say the same thing. Somewhere you've been misled. That's not the high edge thing that you want it to be. It's much easier to just buy up the healthiest companies in the world and let time make you money. That's a much easier strategy. DCA into it, hold. You're going to make money long term, almost certainly. Nothing's 100%, but almost certainly. But for whatever reason, you get a lot of people who they want to call the next big market crash. They want to be the next big short predictor. You know what I mean? They try to instead of taking advantage of the biggest edge in the market, which is on the upside long term, they instead bet against the healthiest companies in the world, and then they don't understand why they can't make money, and it's usually because they're just being stubborn and they're trying. And then I think a lot of the time those are the people who get upset when the market pushes up and says, oh, manipulation, and we should have gone down, and they just don't understand. They don't understand. I think the big short gets people wrapped up into looking cool, calling big market crashes. I also think influencers don't necessarily help. I think there's a lot of people who tell everybody the market's going to crash every other week. And if you look at their video content, like if you follow somebody that's big, go look at their video content. If they've been telling you that a crash is going to happen every other week for years, they've been wildly wrong. And again, I think I say it all the time, but I think a lot of day traders on YouTube go from day trading to like economics and stock market stuff. And so they don't really understand how wild it is to predict a market crash every few weeks. And they do it because it gets them the most amount of views, right? If you tell everybody it's fire, people are going to pay attention. But I think it misleads a lot of, especially new traders, into just thinking that we're going to have a market crash every other week. I think politics certainly doesn't help it. Politics makes this worse because there's a lot of people pushing for that thing as well. Yeah. I mean, it actually does Dream of Stuff. So Dream of Stuff says inflation was at all-time highs, and I guess that makes sense to have market at all-time highs right after peak inflation. Yes, it does. Like, sensibly, like, logically, it does. It makes perfect sense. Why? Because there's more money floating around, because companies are going to have to make more money to stay the same. And so it does make sense stocks are breaking all-time highs around peak inflation. That makes perfect sense, And with that said, though, the stock market's not always the most sensical thing. Sometimes the economy and the stock market are wildly different animals, But yeah, it does make sense that stocks are breaking lifetime highs simultaneously with inflation spiking up too, because there's more money floating around. Well, there should be more bulls than bears because bulls are right long term and bears are not, generally speaking. So again, the biggest thing to understand, no matter what, is that the easiest way to put it is that if you picked 10 blue chip stocks long term and you held them for 10 to 20 years, going long, you're almost certain to make money there, right? Like that portfolio, you might have some losses, but that portfolio is almost certain to make money. If you do the same thing, if you pick 10 random blue chip stocks and you shorted them for 10 to 20 years, you are going to lose so much money most likely. So like that's a really magnified look at the real edge, which is on the long side. And you got some people that just fight that edge, for whatever reason. They want to be contrarian. They idolize short traders, and that's great. Shorting you can make money shorting stocks. I think the best stocks to short though I think there's some blue chips you could short, but I think mid caps also have big opportunity for shorts, specifically in companies that I talked about doing these thought experiments earlier, where you look at a company and you say, hey, where's this thing at in 10 years? I think if you do that and you think there's a big chance of like obsolescence, company going obsolete, like the technology not being useful anymore, too much competition sprouting up, I think there's a lot of companies that you can isolate and see that on. Peloton, Beyond Meat are a couple companies that I've been talking about for freaking years, that have downtrended the entire time. Why? Because they were overhyped. They were hyped up really big. They had crazy, ridiculous like stock price valuations where Beyond Meat had like $300-$400 a share. Just ridiculous. It should have never, ever, ever been that high. And again, you'll notice like these are not companies like Apple or Amazon or Nvidia. Like these are much less known companies. They're mid caps really, that just got really overpriced, really high valuations, pumped up way too much. Those are the companies you can short and pick the tops in. But the ones that you shouldn't be focusing on are Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, Google. Like you should never be shorting those companies long term, at least. It's silly, right? Like even if you can pick the top successfully, the amount of edge that you get from it is not worth the risk that you take. The longer you hold it, the more likely you are to be wrong. It's got time factors there. It's just not the move, Rate cut means something has broken. Not always, Lissandro. So rate cuts generally can signal the Fed panicking and something being broken, but they could also be they could also just be in preparation for that bad stuff to happen, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is rate cuts can also happen in anticipation of negative economic data, right? Like early, they could cut rates earlier even though something's not broken in order to avoid a recession and depression. And ideally that's what you want. That's what a soft landing is what a soft landing is raising rates, not causing a recession. But I think I don't think every rate cut means something's necessarily wrong. I think if they cut rates correctly, they do it in anticipation of, things turning, and so they'll avoid big recessions and depressions and stuff like that from keeping high interest rates for too long. I've listened to this channel last two Nvidia earnings. Yeah, Nvidia earnings are our biggest stream for sure. Any chance, and I'm all in now, any chance they don't... Yeah, I mean, I think something that you see is that you see a lot of these companies like Nvidia, you see big money supporting them, right? Like that's why they beat expectations. That's why you see them do better than expected. One of the things I always tell people, regardless of what the earnings report is that nobody freaking knows what's going to happen with earnings, right? Nvidia could have better than expected EPS, better than expected revenue, and drop 20%. So like earnings are not as easy to gauge how they'll react. Companies can have great earnings and fall. They can have terrible earnings and rip up. They can have flat earnings and do either of those things. So for earnings, I try to take a reactionary mindset where I react to the earnings and the movement that we get from the earnings instead of trying to predict it. I think if you're trying to front load into earnings plays, unless you're holding something long term, it's risky to front load into earnings and take a big position based off of just an earnings report, because nobody knows. A lot of the time the movement is happening preceding the earnings report versus after. And so a lot of the time, if people think the stock is going to have good earnings, they're buying it up beforehand. I just think that's risky. I'm a perma bear and optimist. Yeah, but isn't that a bear? You meant to say perma bull, I'm guessing, Lolo. So bull means up, bear means down. If I'm bullish, that means I think the stock's going up. If I'm bearish, that means I think the stock's going down. Yeah, you can be whatever you want to be. If you're short term, right? So if we're talking about intraday, I short every day almost every day, as long as we get the price action for it. And there's nothing wrong with that, even if you're holding overnight. But I think the longer you hold a short position, unless you're specifically talking about some of these mid-cap, like overhyped companies that are almost certain to fail. I think like a good example of this is look at like Hindenburg's short report, right? Like if you look back at Hindenburg and what companies they're targeting mostly mid-cap stocks. Like they're not targeting Walmart, they're targeting much smaller companies that are overhyped and manipulated. Those are the companies that if you're going to short long term, those are the ones that you can short. Like again, I always use Beyond Meat. I use Peloton as an example as well, because you can see the sentiment of Peloton changing, right? Peloton got really big really, really quickly during the pandemic. They pumped up massive amounts. They should have never, based off of how much they made, they should have never, ever been this high. They should have never been almost $200 a share. And they got really big. They made a bunch of money really quickly from this, and they started creating nonsense. They started creating virtual reality rowing machines and like stuff that was never going to sell well and just burning money. Those are the companies to short long term. If you're going to short a company, that's what you do, right? The companies, and you can use this concept not with shorting, but to avoid getting into dumb, risky trades on the long side as well. So like when you're looking at stuff to buy, the companies you should not be buying are new companies. I always tell people if I'm buying like blue chips, I want like legacy companies that have been around for 40 years. I don't want to buy the new company that only just started going up in the last year or two and now it's a big name, but a year or two ago it wasn't. I do not want that company. You know, even Nvidia has been around for 20 plus years publicly as a company. And so when a company gets too big too quickly, those are the ones you short. Again, I specifically target like mid-cap stocks. Mid-cap stocks, the easiest way to put it. Mid-cap stocks might go up and then drop 70% a year, you know. And there's opportunity to profit from that as well with options or with just basic shorts if you can be selective with them, you know. And I think that's the best move. But again, it's subjective. Everybody's different. I guess the overarching point I'm making is like, don't be stubborn and short the healthiest freaking companies in the world. It's dumb, right? These companies are going to be fine long term. The longer you hold them, the riskier it is. If you're going to short overhyped up short-term companies that have gone up way too much, that have way too much hype, that have been really ridiculously priced in terms of share price, like that have gone up so much that they're just unreasonably inflated, and those are the ones you short. But even still, it's risky, but those are the ones to target, not Apple or Amazon or Walmart or whatever. Those are dumb to short. Right, but Hertz, somebody said I made 90K shorting Hertz, and that's a completely different thing, right? Not all legacy companies are blue chips. You know what I mean? So when I say legacy, I mean blue chip legacy. I mean Walmart, you know, Apple, you know, that's what I mean by legacy. I'm talking about blue chips. Hertz was not a blue chip. It might have been legacy. It might have been around for a long time, but that's actually an example of obsolescence. Like a company that has been around, but it's starting to turn and it might go obsolete. Very low margin business, renting cars out, very low margin business. Anyways. Let's see what the NASDAQ does here. Honestly, everything's up so much. NASDAQ actually just turned a slightly red and then rebounded back. Probably the 8 a.m. scrum. Let me do a poll here. We'll base it off of Nvidia. All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys. We'll base it off of Nvidia. Does Nvidia stock break and hold over 130 today? You know, Lowe's, I generally like Lowe's as a company, but I think Home Depot and Lowe's have a lot of competition. But I generally think it's okay as a company. It's up a little bit on the year. I generally like it. I think mail order shipping products has replaced a lot of brick and mortar retail stores, right? Like companies like Amazon have replaced a lot of brick and mortar stores. But I think Lowe's and Home Depot are going to be much more resilient to that than other industries because like people need wood. They're not going to get the wood shipped. It just doesn't make sense to ship wood to you like that. It makes much more sense to go to the store and buy it. And I think that's going to make them incredibly resilient versus a lot of other brick and mortar stores. You know, so I like Lowe's. I like Home Depot long term. I think those are going to be fine. I think people need to go to the stores to buy a lot of that stuff. Although I do think their margins might get worse over time because there are some stuff there that you do order online now, but a lot of the stuff is heavier, you know, but yeah, I still think they're going to be resilient. What about shorting meme stocks, GameStop, AMC on pumps? Not worth the risk usually. For me, everybody's different, you know. All right, Tesla up to 225s. You know, it'd be nice to have a report of dilution announcements across the market. Yeah, dilution's a big factor for sure. Not all unhealthy companies dilute, though, and not all healthy companies don't dilute. So diluting is just a way to make money if your price has gone up really quickly. So, I mean, it might be a good gauge of overhyped companies, though. Companies that are now doing offerings and stuff. It might be a good gauge of overhyped companies. Yeah, so Lowe's had earnings today. They posted 410 EPS versus 396 expected. Better than expected. Revenue of, let me see. Eli Lilly had something come out about one of their drugs. Medtronic reported earnings. All right, so yeah, Lowe's posted 410 EPS versus 397, revenue of 23.58. So slightly lower than expected revenue for Lowe's. So they're basically flat though. Again, they're green on the year, you know. So they're doing all right. I think regardless of the economy, I think Lowe's is still going to be fine. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Any other big earnings today? I know we have like CRM earnings this week sometime. Tomorrow we have Target, Macy's, TJ Maxx earnings. And then tomorrow evening we've got Snow, Zoom. Snow's one of those ones I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should stream their earnings. We got some tech earnings. Like these are pretty big numbers with Snow and Zoom. Zoom's not really a big company anymore. The problem with Zoom, and Zoom is still useful, but the problem with Zoom is that too many companies do what Zoom does now. You know, so like Discord as an example does this. So conferencing software, and a lot of them do it for free. And so, again, Zoom is a good example of a company that got really big really quickly. But ultimately it started to go obsolete. You know, if you look at this thing should have never been $600 a share. So again, these are the type of companies where I wouldn't really call them blue chips. It's definitely not legacy. It hasn't been around long enough, right? But $600 a share, those are the inflated companies you target for shorts. At this point, it's too late, though. It's not like I'm going to short this now. It's too late. I think Zoom will probably be okay as a company. I think it just got really overvalued up here. Does the wash sale rule apply to S&P? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the wash sale rule basically means a lot of people misinterpret what it is. Like all the wash sale rule does is it makes it so that you can't, like I can't make $1,000 on the S&P 500 and then lose $1,000 on the S&P 500 and then write off the $1,000 loss like I wasn't flat. Right, acting like I was really down 1,000 when in reality I'm flat because I made 1,000 and then lost 1,000. That's essentially what the wash sale rule protects against, is that you can't write off losses that you're not really down on. You know, again, you make 5K in the S&P and then you lose 5K. I can't say, hey, I'm down 5K. You know what I mean? Like that's what it protects against. And so in that regard, yes, it does count on the S&P 500. It counts on everything, basically. Tesla getting ready to break highs again. No, I'm not streaming Lazy Boy. Zoom is not a good stock to invest in. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Right now, they might be fine. I still think Zoom is used a lot, believe it or not. I think what happened to Zoom is technology caught up to it. And so when Zoom first came out, it was like, I used Zoom for years, right? Like I used to, like Money Mitch and I used to stream. And he would come on my streams through Zoom. Like he would join the stream through Zoom. And it was very useful. It was like $20 a month, pretty cheap for what it did. And it was very useful. Tesla just broke highs at pre-market. So look at Tesla pump. It's now over the highs of about 225s, it looks like. Yeah. So Tesla broke pre-market highs. It's up there now. But again, the problem with Zoom is that technology caught up to it. Now every major platform and software allows you to conference. Google does, like a lot of other platforms do, you know. So it's not as useful as it once was. And a lot of them do it for free. So a lot of them started offering it for free. And so paying Zoom to do it is maybe not as necessary. All right, guys. All right, what's up, Daphne? Let me look at our poll results here. We asked people, does Nvidia break 130? 60+%, almost 70% now think yes. We got a few hundred votes in a couple minutes. So Nvidia, I don't know. Nvidia's up a lot short term, but it's still not at highs yet. Highs are like 140 plus, so it's still not quite there. All right. Is there? I mean, there's a lot of them. I would just Google it. Trucking. He says, "Is there a free stock trading simulator?" I would just Google it. There's a bunch of them. Bitcoin. Tesla at 226. So look at Tesla. Tesla's still running. Yeah, so we do have some news for Canada here. Let me go ahead and look at it. I'm just drinking my coffee, waking up a little bit more. So we did have European CPI show up today. It came in basically as expected universally. It came in at 2.6%, 2.6% versus 2.6% expected. CPI month to month showed up at minus 0.2% versus minus 0.2% expected. Month to month CPI showed up at 0 versus 0. Everything essentially showed up as expected for CPI. We had Canadian CPI in 15 minutes. Canada is what I was gonna say. Canada is expecting, Canada is expecting 2.5% on the year, 0.4% month to month. Last time it had a negative 0.1% for month to month base CPI. Core CPI expected, or it doesn't even have an expectation here. So yeah, we do have Bostic speaking later on today too, but yeah. Michael Barr and Raphael Bostic are speaking later on today. The best stock scanner, there's a couple of them. Trade ideas. It depends on what you're looking at. Like, if you want like very short term, Trade Ideas is great. I used Trade Ideas for a long time. Like when I used to trade penny stocks, I used Trade Ideas, and it was really fun. And really short term, right? So there's a lot of scanner short term that if you want to see what's moving, like very short term, Trade Ideas is great. I haven't used them in a few years. Benzinga's also solid. Benzinga's got a lot of good stuff on just like staying up to date on markets. Webull is pretty solid, and then TradingView is probably my favorite currently, because on TradingView you could build your own code, you could build your own scanners. There's a lot of downloadable scanners, like a lot of cool stuff for them. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna emergency cut. I don't think any of the data shows that. And I think if we were gonna do that, they would have announced it this week or last week instead of past this. So I think it's too late for them to cut, for it to do any type of significant like benefits. I think it's just too late. All right, guys, look at Tesla run. Gold still consolidating here. Tesla moving. Here's the SPY. All right. Tesla destroyed last 18 months. Yeah, I don't know if I call it destroyed. It definitely had some downward pressure. You know, I think a lot of it had to do with sentiment regarding earnings. You know, the Cybertruck is something a lot of people were really hyped up about, but even Elon, like specifically when he was talking about the Cybertruck, he even said it wasn't going to benefit their margins for a long time, right? And so that negatively affected it. I think I like Tesla stock long term, but there are risks, right? It's not like there's no risks. I've tried to be as open as I can about the risks that I see for Tesla. One of them is just Elon in general, really outspoken politically, says a lot of controversial stuff. And again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with any of it. Like, I just think in terms of stability with the company, stuff that he says can be risky if you're selling things to consumers. He also is not the best in terms of following through with what he says. You know, but again, he's growing a company, and I think things are subject to change a lot of the time. So I do think time frames change when they get things done change, and he wants to do it right. And so a lot of the time he has to push it back. You know, the Robotaxi event is a good example. This was originally supposed to be in August. Now it's pushed back, I believe, to October, if I remember correctly. So, you know, there are some risks in Tesla, but over time, if they stay on front of FSD, they should be okay, I think. But who knows? You mentioned the movie Margin Call the other day. Yeah, Margin Call, great movie, honestly. Just a great movie. Again, the movie Margin Call was originally based around Lehman Brothers. You know, based around Lehman Brothers. They'll never admit it. It was either Lehman Brothers or one of the other big banks regarding the 2008 mortgage disaster, fire sale that a lot of the big investment banks did. And so a lot of them did fire sales. You know, and so they're never going to say specific names to avoid lawsuits, really. But it's based around some of those big banks. You know, I think they used a fictional bank in the movie, but it's based around some of those big banks that did fire sales. I guess it couldn't. Lehman ended up failing and going out of business. So maybe it's not Lehman. It's probably one of the other big banks that were involved. But yeah, great movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Also, I've been looking at the show Industry. I've never seen it. I think I may have watched a couple episodes years ago about Industry, about like banking and trading. It's an HBO series. If anybody's seen it, let me know. I've seen a few seasons of Billions, but after the second season, it kind of slowed, and I kind of got bored of it. AMD is hot this morning. Yeah, AMD breaking highs too. Look at Tesla broke highs again. There's AMD too. AMD's up there. It's at 158s. pull up Discord. I haven't even pulled up Discord yet. Oof, scared me. Hey. You alright? Okay. Alright, guys. Watched Industry last night. It's good. Yeah, it looks good. It looks solid. Alright, family. Alright. Alright, guys. Alright, y'all ready? Alright. Love you. Have a good day. Alright, bud. Love you. Y'all have a good day. Alright. Yep. Love you guys. Y'all have a good one. Alright. Love you. Alright, sorry. Gotta say bye to the fam. Anyways, we're back. Gold miners are doing really hot too. Yeah, gold's pumping up, breaking lifetime highs this morning. So, gold's been doing really, really nice. Really, really well. With that said, going on the conversation, so a lot of people say, watched Industry last night. Yeah, I watched the first couple episodes. But I've never seen it past there. With that said, though, we had the conversation about mid-caps shorting, overhyped, inflated mid-cap stocks. Name some. List some mid-cap stocks that you think are inflated. I'm curious. See if we got any good opportunities here. Industry is about banking and trading and banking and stocks and big banks, like investment banking mostly. Better to buy gold now? I mean, I'm not personally buying up gold right now. The reason I'm not buying gold up is simple. It's up way too much short term, and gold downtrends for years after big spikes. You know, it doesn't mean, like, again, though, the thing about gold, right? Like, if we take a look at it, there's a couple ways you should look at it, in my opinion. I'm going to preface this with, I am not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Okay? Still. All right, gold can downtrend for decades, right? That's the first truth. Gold can downtrend for decades. Gold can also spike up for decades as well, right? And so there's a couple scenarios here. Maybe gold has hit its climax and it's going to start downtrending for years moving forward. I hope not. It's certainly possible. Or maybe gold is just like, if this moves pretty small relative to where it broke the highs right there. And so it's certainly possible that gold continues up much more. You know, the thing about gold is you never really know. For me, what I would probably do here is, like, I might enter a small position, but it's going to be small. And then I'm just going to dollar cost average every month or two into gold. You know, that way, no matter what, I'm kind of following it down if it does pull back, and I have a small enough position to where my risk isn't super high. That's my own way of looking at it, but I think it's risky. I think there's a lot of risk with how high gold is. And gold, with that said, just broke lifetime highs again. Gold up to almost 2570 now. Yeah, I mean, you might be right, Phil. You know, it's certainly possible. It's just so hard to tell with gold. Yeah, DCAing is probably the move if you're going to buy it, you know. DCAing, the whole point of dollar cost averaging, if you don't know what DCAing is, it's dollar cost averaging. It means taking periodic buys in specific time intervals regardless of price, right? So if you say, hey, I'm going to buy 100 shares of this every month, no matter where it is, right? Over time, that will curb some of the big volatility that you get from some of these assets. Gold is GC, is the futures contract of gold. There's a lot of gold ETFs. So what's more likely in the next 3 to 10? I don't know. More likely, I would say, is a depression. But both of them are possible, you know. I hope not. I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't think it's, I think people avoid war when they can. And even if we have some conflicts, I don't think it's going to mean World War III. I just don't. And maybe that's confirmation bias. Like, I don't want that to happen. Like, I certainly don't want that. Nobody here should want that. If you do want that, you probably don't have kids or any type of big, close family. But it's kind of like people that want a stock market crash, right? Like, a lot of people don't understand, and, you know, ego floats around, but I hope not. DCA is the ideal, but it's boring. Well, good trading is boring. Like, proper trading and investing is boring. 100%. Should be boring. $100 shares. Yeah. 300 shares, in my opinion. You know, if I'm gonna buy shares, I'm gonna go in. You know, I'm gonna go all in. You know, I'm gonna make sure they're the top 3 shares in the world right now, and I'm gonna go heavy. Big believer, big bull. I'm a big bull in shares right now. Anyways. War created everything you see? Not necessarily. I mean, war can stimulate economies too, but it's not something that created anything, right? Like, no war. It depends how necessary it was. I would say the last truly necessary war was World War II. Since then, every war since then has been relatively useless and mostly just based off of power and control. Tesla up to almost 227s. 227s. Still pumping up. Look at Tesla run. Gold broke highs, now pulling back some here. Yeah, but what I'm saying though, so it's bad, says war created all the country's borders. True, but it's a different age right now, brother. It's a different thing right now. Like, we're not in the same, like, conquest culture mindset and world. You know, we don't have muskets anymore, bro. Like, nobody's using muskets now. It's a lot deeper than that. And it's something that nobody here should want. If you're smart enough to look at it objectively. It's something here nobody should want. Right? Like, we don't have muskets anymore and bayonets. Like, it's much worse now. Much worse. And it's one of the reasons we've had mostly peace for 100 years now. You know, a little bit less, for 80 years now. We've had mostly peace. Why? Because our technology now is much better to where it's much, much, much dangerous to get involved in conflicts now. Much dangerous. Doesn't mean we don't do it still. There's still small conflicts that happen regularly. But I'm talking about world powers going against each other. It's a very risky thing right now. Yeah, for sure. I'd rather things just keep being happy and good. All right, guys. Anyways, gold pull it back a little bit. Let's see where the SPY is going throughout all this. All right, SPY testing previous closing prices. SPY is almost flat on the day as gold breaks highs. Where's oil? Yeah, so oil's basically flat too. It's kind of straddling the previous close. VIX, is the VIX calmed down a little bit now? So VIX is spiking up a little bit this morning, but still all the way back down to 15s. So VIX is basically settled all the way back down from the big yen carry trade. If you see the VIX here, VIX gauges volatility, Chad. The higher the VIX is, the more volatility we have in markets. So you can see we're spiking up a little bit today, but here's the yen carry trade drama, and we have basically settled all the way back down, which is good. You might think you want the volatility that comes from this, but it's good that we've settled back down some here. So we're back down to 15s, which probably like the yearly average, I would say, is 15. And I hope the VIX settles down. We're gapping up a little bit, though, so we'll see if we move. Oil is CL, slash CL. It's futures. It's crude futures. Yeah, 100% Sam. I'm for it. Yeah, I'm with you. August. I'm changing this. I don't like talking about this stuff, man. I don't think it's good for like YouTube either, for me personally, you know, to talk about it. I avoid any controversial stuff, but you know, and I don't think anything I'm saying is incredibly controversial, but it's still probably best to just move on from it. Anyways, SPY sitting at 559s. Is the Q any better? Like the Q is more tech heavy than the SPY. Q was at 481s. So yeah, everything's so basically what we've had this morning in price action is choppiness, you know. So we've gone up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And remember yesterday, I thought we'd get choppy action yesterday. We ended up flying up. And I generally think that there's a couple scenarios that we could see today. One of them is a pullback from yesterday. And so I'm bearish most likely. If I had to pick a side, up or down, I'm picking down today just because we're up so much from yesterday. You know, on the other end though, if momentum plays a big factor, you know, Nvidia right over that 130 high level. Nvidia is what's dragging the market up, and that's what happened yesterday is Nvidia pumped up to 130s. If we start to break highs and continue that momentum, then obviously we could continue higher and higher and higher today. It's just risky, right? It's just risky. And I think in general, we're extended on the upside. I also think leading into tomorrow with the Fed minutes report, as well as Friday's Jackson Hole Symposium Economic Conference, I think traders might be a little more apprehensive leading into all that stuff. We got a lot of big economic stuff going on this week. Specifically, Friday's the big boy day. It's the day where Jerome Powell speaks and could massively influence the economy and the market. And so with that said, I think a lot of traders are going to be trade smaller leading up to that report on Friday, as well as the Fed minutes report tomorrow on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Why does Nvidia drive the market? Because I think a lot of people bet the future of technology on AI and microchips. And so Nvidia, it's not that Nvidia leads the market, it's that the market's heavily weighted towards Nvidia, you know. So essentially, like, the market follows Nvidia. And if Nvidia makes a big move up or down, the market is such severely reacted to that if it moves a lot of the time with it. You know, a lot of people call Nvidia the new SPY because everything's so weighted to it. And it's a heavily weighted stock. It's in the Magnificent Seven. You know, it's heavily weighted in both the S&P and the NASDAQ. But I'm not sure what the weight of Nvidia is on the Dow. Anybody know? Help me out, chat. All right, so yeah, the Dow's a little bit different. United Health's number one, Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, Home Depot. I actually like the Dow's portfolio, though. I'm looking for Nvidia. Is the Dow not in the top 30 on Nvidia? Weird. The Dow is just much more diversified outside of tech. Salesforce. Yeah, so it's not even in the Dow, which is crazy to me, right? It's one of the reasons I don't like the Dow as much in investing. The Dow specifically is this: United Health, Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, Home Depot, Caterpillar, Amgen, McDonald's, Visa, Salesforce, Amex, Apple, Travelers, JP Morgan, Honeywell, IBM, Boeing, Amazon, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Chevron, 3M, Merck, Disney, Nike, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Dow, Inc., Cisco, Verizon, and Intel. I don't like these positions on the Dow. I don't think these are good. I think a lot of these are risky. Yeah, I just think a lot of these are risky. I like some of these. I like Honeywell. I like Amazon, of course. I think Amazon is essentially controlling retail. But there's a lot of risky positions here. Intel, Verizon, Salesforce is not the... I like Salesforce, but it's also not a guaranteed success company either. IBM, Boeing. So, yeah, some of these are just really risky holds. All right, so we did bounce right at this previous closing price. So look at the previous closing price right there. We did bounce directly off of that. Yeah, gold dipping down a little bit. Tesla pulling back some too. Gold hitting that 200 EMA. Yeah, so there's some penny stocks running up. There's Titan Pharmaceuticals, TTNP. I don't know, man. This thing looks like it had a reverse split. Look at TTNP. I don't know much about this company. Now, I'm assuming this was a reverse split, but it's still downtrending. I think that's a really bad sign, but it's also actually it's not downtrending. It's up to 1240s for TTNP. Penny stock that just went crazy. My dream woman will pull up in her Porsche and save me. Yeah, I mean, live your life, bro. I don't know. Life throws curveballs at you, but life's beautiful, man. You gotta just enjoy the swings. Reverse merger info. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so it says Titan Pharmaceuticals shares rallied after the company entered into an agreement to combine KE in a reverse merger. Shares in pre-market are up. Developmental stage said the agreement, which must still be approved, will result in combining KE in two-step process. TTMP merger a subsidiary of BSKE, will merge with and into Titan, leading to Titan ultimately being the surviving corporation of the merger and subsidiary of BSKE. KE. Afterwards, shareholders of KE may elect to enter into the share exchange agreement. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, not really my style, but it is gapping up on this news. We'll put gold back up. I tried trading gold a little bit yesterday. Didn't have the best results with it. Well, I mean, caffeine, it depends on what you call drugs. Like, a lot of people universally call everything drugs, right? But caffeine's a drug. Sugar's horrible for you. Like, people have, like, labeling, it's, yeah. Nvidia is about 7% of the S&P 500. Yeah, I think it's even more of the NASDAQ, right? Let me see if I could. AI is really good for querying these things, right? A lot of people don't understand the value of AI. It's not the best with it, but I can say, what is the Nvidia weight of QQQ or NQ? 7 to 8%. Yep. What about S&P 500? 3 to 4% of the S&P. So it's 7 to 8% of the NASDAQ and 3 to 4% of the S&P, at least according to AI. Food is a drug. Honestly, I'm a desserts guy. I eat way too many desserts and I feel horrible about it. You know, like give me some cookie dough ice cream. Gelato. Oh, man. I'm trying to eat healthy. As you get older, you fear desserts. I fear desserts and sugar, you know. As I get older, I fear eating cupcakes. Like, you never realize that when you get older, you fear cupcakes, you know. But it's like the forbidden fruit, you know. Yeah, for sure. Moderation, 100%. First AI tech was the magic ball, yeah. Yeah, you know what's interesting? And again, I said this before. So, like, when I was growing up, we had Furbies, right? And the rumor that was never actually true was that you could train your Furbies to say things, right? Which was not true at all, right? They would never say anything. You could never train your Furby. It would never mimic what you were saying or anything like that. You know, an interesting concept, but like Furbies were like this technology in the early 2000s. Every kid wanted one if they were a kid when they were out, for the most part, with exceptions. Some guys I'm sure didn't want one, but you know, I think a great idea for a toy nowadays, but it's also kind of a scary idea, is use AI for that type of thing now. If you create a new age form of a Furby using AI, it could do a lot of the stuff that people talked about back then, you know. I remember I had the Gizmo one from the Gremlins as a kid. But that thing would just be weird, bro. That thing would be sitting in the room chilling, and I'd be sleeping at night, and it would start to say some weird, like, it would start to mumble and say stuff. Always freaked me out. Yeah, definitely top 3 worst ever in the world. I'm pretty sure this is how horror movies start, though, regarding AI and Furbies. But still. All right, anyways, guys, let's get ready to trade. Also, guys, if you haven't already, check out Topstep. Topstep funded account program in futures. They give you a demo, test your skill with a demo account first. Almost all day traders lose, right? We're talking a lot about the Q, about the SPY. Almost all day traders lose. This is one of the most legit ones in the world. They have some of the best rules once you're funded, right? Once you're funded, some of the best rules. Great way to learn how to day trade. And again, most traders lose. And so I think that's the same here. Most day traders lose. Doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, what platform you're on. Most day traders lose. And so if you put up 5K trying to learn how to day trade at the beginning, you're probably about to lose 5K. You know, that's just how it goes. You're going to lose. And so instead of risking that money, you know, and it's almost necessary. You have to learn to lose. You have to have that fear of markets in order to have any type of risk management, because most new traders don't. And so you can either gain that by risking thousands of dollars of your own money and be stubborn, trying to look cool, or you could try a funded account program in futures. In the futures market, you could day trade essentially the S&P, basically the SPY, essentially the QQQ, basically the NASDAQ 100, S&P 500, all that stuff. You could trade the Dow, you could trade some currencies on Topstep, you could trade gold specifically. Patterns are very similar to blue chips, and what they do is they give you a demo first. This one is a 50K demo. They give you a 50K demo, and they test your skill. If you can make 3K on that 50K demo without losing 2K first, a reasonable 2 to 3 ratio, they fund you 50K with a 90% split. And then once you get that, you get a, you know, again, you get a 90% split. If you take that 50K funded account and you make 10K, you get to keep 9 of that. You know, they keep 1,000 since they're funding you that money. Again, one of the most legit in the world. And the best part is that if you lose, This is $49 a month. And so it's not the end of the world if you lose. A great way to learn how to day trade. And again, they've paid out tens of millions of dollars to their traders. They're one of the most legit companies in the world, right? Regarding this. Been around for over 12 years, you know. And so again, if you want to check them out, I'll put the link up. Great way to help support the channel. We appreciate the love. Yeah, check it out. Gremlins, honestly, a great movie. Furby will rat you out. Trading my Express funded account. Hey, nice, Jay. Hey, what's up, Joel? Hope you're doing good, bro. He said, hey, beginner trading. Was looking here for a coupon code. I woke up and show up. Here you are talking about it. I hope you're doing good, brother. No, you could use Topstep outside the U.S., I'm pretty sure. There's a lot of places you could use it. So, yeah. No, it's not just U.S. Let me check this. All right, guys, bear with me. All right. All right, guys. So again, gold has bounced all the way back up. Sorry, I'm trying to find. I got this email. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to check this out. Let me sign in here. All right, guys. So sorry. So you can see the NASDAQ is actually broken below the previous closing price. So the NASDAQ is technically red on the day. So the NASDAQ is technically red on the day. We'll see if it holds. But slightly red. Gold is pushed up. Nvidia's up there too. Just bought a 50K. Hey, thank you, Joel. I appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much, man. Hope you're doing good, dude. Is the target of 3K per day? No, it's just 3K total. And like Topstep's dope because like, look, it might be a little bit harder to get funded, but to keep the funded account, it's got some of the best rules in the game. you know? So like to actually keep the funded account, again, it's got some of the best rules in the game. And I think that's the thing people have to understand, is that like it's got some of the best rules in the game. They're trying to make sure you're legit traders, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. Where'd it go? There it is. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to see, like, this is a weird email I got. I'm trying to make sure it's not like a freaking phishing email. There's so many people try to scam you, and I'm usually pretty good at it, but like, okay. Yeah, dude, so people trying to... Yeah. Yeah, so this was somebody basically looking to asking for access to my Amazon page. Like, not today, sir. Alright. Yeah, I mean, the email wasn't fishy itself. I was trying to make sure it was actually... Yeah, it's a big story. What are the signals that indicate a trend is shifting from upward to downward? There's a couple different ones. There's a couple different ones, right? So, there's just a lot of them. You could use RSI. One of them I use is the previous closing price break. So look, so here's the previous close, right? So that's the level at which the stocks go from red to green, green to red on the day. You can see we break underneath it, right? Like that. If it holds and confirms underneath this for X amount of time, a lot of the time it's going to continue down. Not always, but that's just one of them. There's a lot of different ones, and they're never 100% accurate. But when you combine them all together, they're useful. I like looking at the 200 EMA and the volume weighted average price as well. You know, an example of that is like, look, so we are over the 200 EMA VWAP level. We break down below it and we hold. And that's usually a sign, like some people watch the 200 EMA here, others watch the VWAP. When we break underneath both of those, it's pretty significant and, you know, pretty good signal of like a trend change from up to down, which is kind of what we're seeing now in the NASDAQ here. Gold broke lifetime highs again. So gold broke lifetime highs again. Nvidia way up there, now way down. So Nvidia's turning. That's dragging the market down for sure. NASDAQ. I don't know about NASDAQ. Yeah, dude, a lot of people have confirmed they got payouts from them. Again, it's just a, you know, yeah. Somebody's just trying to be weird. Gold miners are ripping. Yeah, gold is up big. So gold miners are probably going to be pumping up today. With that said, though, when the trolls come out, we put it in sub-only mode. So we're going to throw this in sub-only mode. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. We'll get ready to day trade closer to the open. We don't, again, today's the last day that's kind of boring. Tomorrow we got the Fed minutes report. Wednesday, again, we got the Fed minutes report. Thursday, we've got a bunch of stuff. We also have the ECB policy meeting on Thursday, as well as Friday we got the Jackson Hole so Thursday actually the Jackson Hole Symposium starts. Trying to see when. And then we have the ECB meeting, and then Friday we got Powell. Yeah, so Powell speaks at 10 a.m. Yeah, we just ignore him. Yeah, hit the like button. I appreciate it. Get a virtual machine and put a Windows ISO on it. Tesla's pulling back. Well, everything's kind of pulling back. A lot of it's following Nvidia specifically, right? So Nvidia is what's leading the market. You know, one of the reasons I watch the VWAP level here is if you look at this, look at the VWAP level right there. So we bounced directly off of that spot, like directly off of the volume weighted average price level. Yeah, I mean, Z, you want to look up what the consistency rule is. What it means is that you can't dollar cost average over and over again. Adding to a losing position is one of their rules, right? And so what you just described does break that rule. What happens is that if people try to game the system and then process a payout, and then whenever they reject it because they're trying to game the system, then they cry foul. A lot of people here have gotten a lot of payouts from them, specifically in the last 30 days. You know, again, we have Yair that was worried, and then he got his. You know, we got a lot of people that ended up getting theirs, you know. So they both pay out. You know, most people are trying to game the system. They're just mad that they didn't get approved, and so they yell, whatever. Either way, I'm friendly with both companies. Like, it's all good, you know. Yeah, so Chuck says he was worried, got a payout too. 100%, right. It just depends. You got to follow the rules as anything else, and you're going to have day traders that lose and that blame it on whomever, or that try to game the system and blame it on whomever. But in the end, they pay, you know, as long as you follow the rules. Right, look at Chuck says, I couldn't get a payout because of the DCA rule. You adjust and you'll get a payout. Yeah, for sure. Do you have a score of how many times you got CPI data right? No. I think out of the last like 7 or 8 meetings, I've gotten it right maybe like 5 or 6 times, which is actually surprisingly good accuracy. You know, that's like 75%, but it might not be that good. That's what it seems like to me in my head, but maybe I'm overcompensating. Top 3 overcompensators in the world right now. Nike. Oh yeah, NNE moving. Definitely top 3 in the world. T. Yeah, I see N and E right now. It's up big, but it's just too small cap for me. Hard to borrow, too small capish. Will there be we have a day or 2 of testing. Again, if I have a bias, it's on the downside. Right? Like if I have a bias, I think we have some downward pressure probably today. You know, I think today we're up a lot, and I think that makes sense that we're going to try to correct on the downside today. Although again, nobody knows. I thought yesterday we'd have choppy action, and we ended up pumping up huge yesterday. And so I don't think it necessarily means anything. But yeah. All right, there's Tesla. Again, guys, Tesla bouncing directly off of the VWAP at 220. 225s. I think today is a red day. I have no idea. I think so. I think we probably correct at least a little bit from yesterday's big bull action. And I think the market generally wants to be flat leading into the economic symposium, the Jackson Hole thing, as well as the Fed minutes report tomorrow. So I think we got a lot of stuff happening Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. And I think the market might be apprehensive leading into it. But again, take it with a grain of salt. I could certainly be wrong. Top 3 worst trader of all time and best simultaneous trader of all time ever in the world right now. No, I don't know about those. That's a sector that I'm not really super comfortable with, Larry. So, you know, in general, no. I don't really know about any of those, bro. See Lowe's earnings. Lowe's had mixed results. They're slightly down, but it's certainly not like, you know, it's certainly not like Lowe's is crashing. Lowe's is still very green on the year. It's only gapping down. It's still above where it opened yesterday, or at least right around it, I guess. Yeah, so the Jackson Hole Symposium, Friday, Powell speaks on it. That's a big report. Yeah, futures is a little bit better. Futures, I got started trading in futures because it was a natural progression. Like, I started off, if you watch my old videos, I used to day trade penny stocks, and I thought that was like the game. Then I realized how unpredictable and risky and how much like the whole industry of penny stock day traders is mostly marketing to new traders. Like, it's really pleasant thought to think that you could take a small $1,000 account, trade really like low priced assets like penny stocks, and then somehow make these ridiculous returns. And so it's one of the most pleasant thoughts you could have, right? Oh, that seems great. That seems lovely. You know, the problem is that it's not really like that. Most people trading that make most of their money through marketing courses, and you're almost certain to lose, you know? And so if you put up $1,000, you're almost certain to lose $1,000, right? And to move that forward, I went from penny stocks, and then I started trading blue chips because I realized how sketchy penny stocks were. So I went from penny stocks to blue chips, and I started trading like blue chip stocks like AMD, and I had some success trading stocks like AMD. I used to call it my stock girlfriend because I would see it every day and trade it every day. Eventually, I started playing with the SPY and the Q a little bit. You know, the SPY and Q, and I had good success there, and I realized how like consistent you can trade the SPY and Q successfully. And then I went from the SPY and Q to futures, because in the futures market you can day trade essentially the SPY and Q, no PDT rule. So you can essentially get exposure to day trading the SPY and Q, no PDT rule, and eventually that brought me to trading futures. I can day trade the S&P and the NASDAQ, basically the SPY and Q price action. And so again, if you want to get your feet wet in futures, check out Topstep. Topstep funded account. You can learn how to day trade and have fun with it. And if you lose, you're only out $49 for the base one. And if you pass it, you get $50K in funding, 90% split. It's just a great way to learn. Check out the link. All right, so again, here's the Q. Again, we broke under that previous close. Somebody asked me what a good trend indicator was, and I told them under the previous closing price, if we reject, is a good indicator. You know, so this looks like we're going to start downtrending. And again, I think if I had, like I've said many times this morning, if I do have a bias, it's on the downside. I think we probably will get choppy sideways action since it's the day before Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. But anything can happen. But I also think that we're up a lot. Generally speaking, if we move up really big one day, the next day is balanced, so we pull back a little bit, and then maybe we continue up. And so just in terms of general balance, I think that we might pull back some today, and we're kind of starting to. I see Nvidia start to fall. This is a big level right here because we have this previous low of the day, low of pre-market, low of extended hours, right there at 128.80s that we're testing right now. So this is a big bounce specific level. But again, we'll see. All right, so we are downtrending here. So again, look at Nvidia right at that previous closing price, right at that previous close. We're gonna have trade evates. So we're actually green. Oh, yeah. Let me switch this. So we're going to start to day trade now, guys, so be ready. Yesterday we lost a little bit of money in this account. That's all right. Here's the NASDAQ. What I learned is that I'm going to buy this up a little bit here. Actually, I'm going to sell this, and then I'm going to get it in larger size. I'm buying this up. The logic of this trade is if Nvidia bounces at this low level, then maybe we got a good little bounce spot. All right, so we're slightly green. Gonna limit our size a little bit now. Make sure you guys can see this. Oh, y'all can't see it. Hold on, let me switch sides. There we go. I like this level here. When people say gap fills, do they mean gap to 4 p.m. closing price or the 8 p.m.? It can mean both, right? Gap is a widely used term. Some people mean gap in terms of like the price. Some people mean gap means there's no price action in between it. But other people mean gap like I'll say things are gapping up a lot of the time when I just mean like pre-market there's a big move up or down, you know. And so gap can mean a lot of things. In theory, it means that like a stock is moving up, down, or down a lot in pre-market or extended hours trading usually. But it can also mean there can be gaps on the long-term charts as well. So it's a pretty like used term. All right, so we're gonna add right back to this here. There we go. All right, so we took some off. We got 2 contracts left. We'll stay in this position and maybe add more to it to protect. We got a little cushion now that we can let work. All right, so we're flat. What else we got? Okay, so I just looked the other way. We started to flush. I'm going to go ahead and sell this probably. We're completely flat on the day. I guess I'm going to sell this. So we're flat now. We're down less than $10. Maybe look to buy it back again. All right, guys. So we're going to get ready to day trade the opening bell. I'm waiting here, sitting tight. Try to get the stock market stream up. Let me try to get one. There we go. All right, so we did get a big rebound back up. We got 15 minutes as the market opens. All right, so sorry, catch it back up on stream. What's up, Kimberly? Tesla broke below the 200 EMA. Yeah, I think tomorrow might get choppiness. We don't really have anything this morning in terms of reports. Everything's pretty boring and slow. What do you see Nvidia price range on earnings day? If we can stabilize down here, I think Nvidia looks green. I'm going to buy this dip. Add a little bit to it. And then prepare to add a little bit less if we fall. Alright, so we're going to add straight to this one. Taking a larger position. We got 7 contracts here. We're basically flat. I want to give it a chance to rebound back up. I'm hoping Nvidia bounces right here at this level. It's tested a couple different times. See if we retrace back up and head up. We've just got such steep downward pressure in terms of balance a lot of the time we head up. Although Tesla is rejecting that 200 EMA. Just crack lows. We gotta watch Nvidia here. Starting to pop right back up. I'm going to limit my size down here just because it's risky, to be honest. So we're going to take some size off. Hello? All right, Carol with the daily call. All right. We're flat on the remaining position. I wanted to give it a chance to bounce, but this will give me time to let it run a little bit more. And we could add our sizing right back now that we're in the green too, since it looks a lot better. I'm just worried we're going to get choppiness leading into the opening bell is what I'm worried about. All right, so we'll add 6 contracts back. There we go. Immediately got the bounce back here. Now we got 2 contracts. So we were correct about it. We limited our risk some here. 2 contracts left. And we will add back to this too if we see some bullish like stabilization signs that we're going to start moving back up. Either way, it's kind of peanuts on the day, but yeah, this looks strong. All right, so we're going to start adding back here. Nvidia looks like it's testing lows of the day, though. That's the biggest risk here. We could retrace, but what's Apple doing? Yeah, I don't ever change my ringtone or anything. Like, I keep my ringtone basically the same. I don't ever change it. Hey, what's up, Ivan? Seems top heavy. Where do you guys think we move after the open? Bullish or bearish movement? And now we're down a little bit here. Again, Nvidia's breaking lows. I'm going to cut it and then maybe jump back in. It's kind of small. All right, so we're going to add right back here and then double it to 4 contracts. It's kind of a risky buy because we're right at lows, so if we do flush down, we're going to lose. But we're using relatively small size. Yeah, there's the flush. See if we stabilize here. We've dropped enough. Again, I thought we would come back down today, so maybe I should be trading with my own bias, which was down. Just the only problem is that we're already down enough here. So, and there we go. We're back to green. I just think we've dropped enough. We're probably going to start stabilizing here. All right, so we got 6 contracts now. I'd say bearish, we're due for a pullback. Yeah, I think we went up too much yesterday is what it is, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to play off of. But I also look for balance today because we got economic reports this week. I'm basically trying to catch the bottom, and that can be a risky thing with the sizing I'm using. But I do want to be patient. Yeah, I do want to be patient. You got to watch Nvidia up here testing these lows is the only thing about it. Like, if Nvidia flushes down quick, like, you know, we're in trouble. Not big, it's still small size, but I don't think it's possible Nvidia flushes down big, to be honest. We got Tesla kind of helping us today, though, so we're flat now. Yeah, we got 8 minutes, so I'm just playing around. It's all pretty small size. All right, we're flat. I'm going to take a quarter of the position off. And then I'll let the little 4 contracts run safer. Yeah, I mean, I think this looks like a bottom, personally, right? And with that said, it moves up immediately. It's just about whether it can get some legs and start to run. Like, I don't mind being down 50, 30, 60 bucks, whatever it is, you know, at the opening bell. It's still relatively small. I don't want to let it get too much past that, though. And yeah, we're looking like we're just chopping sideways. I'm just going to cut it, liquidate it, and just wait. Too close to the open. I think we got a high chance of bouncing right here, too, still. I still believe we got a high chance. It's just not worth the risk. Yeah, like micros is what I was in. I don't mind playing with micros. I would never take minis right there, or at least I try not to. Hey, what's up, Joan? Yeah, we could dump at the open for sure. 100%. Yeah, we could. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Vote on the poll. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to end this poll actually real quick, and we're going to do a different poll. We're going to do one based around the opening bell. All right, so do we get bull or bear action at the opening bell? Vote on the poll. Made a few bucks on Tesla. Yeah, Tesla bounced exactly right off the 200 EMA VWAP level. Stabilizing now, though. It's kind of flat. It looks like a bull flag, though. I think we drop at the bell. Yeah, I don't know. I think short term we might get a little bounce at this bottom here, but we might continue downward afterwards. Nvidia's bouncing, though. So look at Nvidia pop. 4 minutes. We're also going to be on Topstep X today as well. So we got a couple different. Oh. Wait, what happened? This must be on Quant Tower. Huh. All right, guys. So we got a couple of these that I just realized. All right, so we're consolidating here. We got 2.5 minutes. Okay, cool. There we go. Yeah, I gotta get this thing set up here. Hide this. Sorry, I'm trying to get my Topstep X platform set up here. We'll put my position list up on the right side, because we're going to be trading on Topstep X today too on a combine. I want to... Alright, so we got this up. We're also going to be trading on this account too, so we're going to be trading a couple different accounts up. Honestly, I really like the updates they've done to Topstep X. I really like the updates. Let me put this on the corner here. Watching Nvidia very closely here, guys. We got 1.5 minutes left. 1.5 minutes left. Nvidia's right above me. Hey, what's up, T4? Yeah, Nvidia earnings are going to be chaotic. Here, hold on, guys. I'll be right back before the open bell for sure. All right, we're back. All right. Just gotta make sure everything's good. Yeah, let's see if we bounce. I'm gonna let the opening bell play out first. So this account I'm down 1,000 on. We got a couple different accounts. Like we played with it yesterday. I'll go ahead and swing for the fences with this one. My job is to make 1,500 in profit on this one. And then this is an actual funded account. So this is an actual funded account, but we're going to let this one chill for a little bit and wait. All right, there's the opening bell. We did bounce a little bit at this bottom level that we thought we would get. All right, so we did get that bounce exactly where we thought we would. We ended up making a little bit on our Topstep combine. And so again, we did make a little bit at the opening bell. We're green. We did get that bounce exactly where we thought we would. I'll play with this on a funded account, but I'm not going to really mess with it. Or I'll play with this on a challenge account, but not really an actual funded account. It's too risky. There's the bounce. I told you guys I thought we were in a bottom. It was just too risky to hold through the opening bell. I still like, if I have a bias though, it's probably on the downside today still. So we'll see. And so I might actually short this if we get some good. And again, I have to, like, I'm willing to lose this account just to put this into perspective, right? I'm shorting right now. We are right at the VWAP level. So we're going to go ahead and risk this one. All right, we're going to take half of it off. 2 contracts left. Cover another half of that. All right, so there we go. We've made about 640 since the opening bell on this one. And we're going to let the opening bell play out first here. Again, Nvidia spiked up to the VWAP at the opening bell. The reason we thought we would reject there is because you could see Nvidia hit the volume weighted average price. Very big milestone level, and a lot of the time it's going to reject, right? Momentum is building. Yeah. You'll be okay, Tony. We're going to say the same thing multiple times in a row. You know, that's pretty normal, I think, for people. You get a live stream Nvidia earnings, of course. All right, again, we're trying to let the opening bell volatility subside a little bit here. We don't really have any big news coming out today. It's all pretty boring and flat. We're on Topstep X here. We got one position, cutting it. A little bit of green here. We'll add to that. Cut it again. Out. So again, we're up about 800 since the start of the day. This is a challenge account on Topstep, and again, if I pass this, I get 50K in funding with a 90% split. So we gotta make 3K in profit without losing. 2K first is the rules. So we're in a losing trade now on here. Just one contract, but a big pump up here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. So we gave a little bit of it back. We'll come back to this. This is a big pump up. I'm going to start to short this, or want to short this now, but it's a risky short. This is an actual funded account. 50K on Tradevate. We got four contracts here. See if we squirm down a little bit. There we go. Cover. Cover. I'm covering this. Nvidia just broke over the 200 EMA and it's starting to squeeze up. So I might have just been wrong about my direction today. Hey, what's up, life changing? When that white belt tapped you the other day, you were not happy about it? Nah, dude. Like, listen, I'm a white belt. If I was a purple or a brown belt, it would be different. Like, again, in jiu-jitsu, you're going to get tapped, right? Like you're going to lose. I tapped this guy out like 30, 40, 50 times already. So he was going to catch me eventually. It's not like he's just never going to tap me. When you roll with somebody so much, they're going to catch you. If you're rolling right? Like, you got to put yourself in bad spots if you're going to grow. And so if you're just never wanting to lose ever, you know. But yeah. I mean, did I want to get tapped? No. But was I happy for him that he's getting better? Yes. All right. So we made a little bit. Nvidia surged up a lot. I want to short, but the Q just went green. Nvidia is very green. Nvidia is pushing up towards 130, and I think that type of momentum is strong. All right, so let's see if Nvidia surges up and tries to break this big key level here. It's a huge level. All right, so we are flushing down. It depends on whether you think Nvidia is going to break 130 or not. All right, so we've actually made 1,000 plus on Topstep X. You can see we actually are over 50K, which is good. We lost 1,000 yesterday. We've effectively made that back. And again, I think Nvidia's, there's like a magnet. It's like a magnet that you got to move up, but I think I'm watching this volume weighted average price level closely right here. And again, if you want to check out Topstep with me, if I pass this, I get 50K in funding. So if you want to participate in that with me live, I'll put this link up. Topstep X is dope, though. I'm using it right now. Really fun. Here's the link if you want to check it out. Nah, like I see people who really hate losing. When I lose, I laugh about it. Like usually, you know, you roll with some people who just hate to lose, and you can tell because like if you tap them, like this guy's a good example. Like I tap him, he wants to go immediately. He's like, all right, let's go. He immediately jumps back and like wants to try to tap me out. But that aggression can be a flaw. Like it can cause him to. He's so hell bent on tapping somebody out. It's kind of like. It's kind of like if you've ever met somebody that really wants a girlfriend, right? That really wants to meet a girl or whatever, and they're just obsessed with it, right? So when they're actually around girls, it's so transparent, and they get so nervous, like they put the girl on a pedestal so much that it backfires on them, and the girl's like, oh, this dude's weird. Like, let me get out of here, right? And the people who end up getting girls are the people who act like they don't care. You know, it's the same thing with like submissions in jiu-jitsu. If you're hell-bent on tapping somebody out over position, you're probably not going to tap them out, right? But once you start mastering like positional things and like being able to control the position, regardless of whether you tap them out or not, that's when the submissions come to you a little bit better. You can probably use a lot of analogies like that in trading as well, you know. All right, anyways, Nvidia looks weak right now. Nvidia broke under the 200 EMA and the VWAP here. Starting to break down. Yeah, like I had some buddies, they would meet girls and they're just being their best freaking friend ever in the world. So they're just their best friend. And you need some water, you want me to go make you some tea, you know? And they were great guys. Like, you know, one of them is no longer around anymore. Rest in peace to Tyler. But he struggled with dating because you don't have to be mean, but you don't want to act too desperate, I think, you know? Like that's a flaw. You got to act like you got options, even if you don't. Anyway, SPY pump it up. SPY's getting ready to break highs, which is interesting. Honestly, I'm kind of bearish, though. Nvidia looks weak here. And so Nvidia's got a lot of big milestone levels above us. You know, you got the VWAP, the 200 EMA, and the previous closing price above Nvidia right now. And so I think that's a little sketchy for me. I'm not going to really attack anything here. I'm going to wait for this to settle down a little bit. Yeah, well, that's just Bao. Sam. He's always been this way, right? You know, Disney goes up, it's the end of the world. Disney goes down, it's the end of the world. You know, he's always been that way. You know, I think I've said it once, I'll say it again. Calm down. It'll be okay. You got to limit your size to where you're not super emotional about it. I don't even know if he's being emotional. I didn't even read up that high in the chat. But you should be trading size small enough to where if you lose, it's not the end of the world. Has anyone gotten too angry they just start fighting? No, but it gets close. I mean, you got to understand, like in jiu-jitsu, everybody kind of knows how to fight. So it's kind of like, you know, it's hard to explain. Like, if you know your opponent knows how to fight, you're going to be a lot more selective about when you fight. It's kind of like once the world got nuclear weapons, we've seen a lot of peace, right? Why? Because everybody knows the consequences of that, and how bad they can get. And so same thing with gyms like this, I'm assuming. I've seen people get into it. Like, I've seen a guy roll. You know, they got this guy, he brings his wife to both him and his wife train, you know. And another friend of mine was rolling with the guy's wife, and he got like really rough, really like unnecessarily rough with him, right? And then whenever he was rolling with the husband got rough with him, and then he got rough back with him, and then it kind of started this little, like, they never fought, they never like threw blows at each other or anything, but it got intense, you know. And that happens, I guess. It's normal. It's an intense sport. Yeah, for sure. That's the first person I thought of is Raphael. Honestly, Bao might be Raphael, and honestly, just different name. How's your ear? My ear? You mean my eye? My eye, I still got a black eye. Like, if you see it, like, look. And I busted my lip yesterday too. So tough sport. Honestly, I'm kind of bearish right here, guys. I don't like trading. The reason I stopped trading completely is because the NASDAQ pushed up, but Nvidia looks weak to me. It's below all these major milestone levels, the 200 EMA, the VWAP, the previous closing price. It's got a lot of milestone resistance levels to get above, and so I'm skeptical. And it's already up a ton yesterday. He was probably trying to go for a punch choke, Tony. You know, if you train, you know what a punch choke is. I think he probably missed. But I've seen a lot of people get people in triangles and then do a punch choke, like right here. You know. All right, again, I'm neutral right here. I don't see anything that I really like here, chat. So. Hey, later, Tiny. Have a great day. Yeah, same guy that gave me the... So it's not really a black eye. Like, if you look at it, it's not really black. It's more so that it's a geese scrape. So it's like I said, it's more of like a brush burn than a conventional black eye here, if you look at it. You know? So it's much more of a brush burn than it is like a shiner. But yeah, same guy. I don't know whose fault this last one was. This was yesterday. We were rolling, and I got him in like a rear naked choke and tapped him out. And then, like I said, after you tap him out, he gets really kind of aggressive. He wants to win. I get it. I'm competitive too. But somewhere along the line, his knee ran into my lip. He didn't do it intentionally. Like, he was trying to re-guard and pull guard, which is you bring your knees up. And I think I just ran into it, busted my lip, you know. Like I said, my wife's probably like, man, what's going on? John's getting beat up. If you ever seen the Diaz bros, they have a lot of scar tissue around their eyes. I do too, I think. So I get cut and scraped there really easily. It's like my 5th black eye this year. SPY up to 560. SPY getting ready to break highs though. And again, maybe I was wrong about not taking long positions here. It's just too risky, I think. It's just too risky. You mean Claude Van Damme, Sam? Is that CVD? Is that a symbol? Is that a stock? Yeah, it's hard to tell which one you mean. Street Fighter. I love that movie growing up. Apparently, it's not a good movie. I haven't seen it in decades. But I loved it growing up. I watched it like 30 times. Yeah, I mean, look at this big move. Again, Nvidia is still under the 200 EMA and the volume weighted average price and the previous closing price. So I will short this here on my actual funded account with 3 contracts. But I also think we got some momentum there. All right, took a little bit off. We'll add some to this. 5 contracts here. We'll take a little swing in this account. I want to give it time. All right, we took a piece off. Got our 5 contracts again. See, Nvidia's starting to head back up, though. I'll probably close this down. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Again, I just don't like the price action today. Today's a day where we might get choppy action. But I'm going to just go ahead and get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. The Fed Minutes Report is tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. Be ready. We will be streaming live like we always do. Stick around. And, yeah, y'all be safe. Again, guys, if you want to check out Topstep, great funded account program. We did make $1,000 on this one today. So we are up $1,000 today on this account. Let me see if it shows me my P&L. There's got to be a way to see your P&L here, right? Good refresh rate on Topstep. Let me see. Oh, performance stats. Yeah. Nice. Wow, so they do show you everything. Today is Tuesday. I just want to see. Yeah. All right, so here's my stats for today. Here's my daily journal. This is what I like about Topstep X, right? And again, you can get access to this if you're on Topstep. Like you can see my P&L today, $80, $150, $110, $105, $115, $55. We lost $260 here, lost $45 here, made $10, made $115, made $40, made $140, made $105, made $200, lost $85, made $80, made $80, made $80. Right, so here's the growth today. Not too shabby. We'll take it. Again, we're kind of flat in this account now, but we'll come back to it tomorrow bright and early. And, yeah, I'll take it. Again, if you want to check out Topstep, I'll put the link up. Y'all have a great day. Our link is in the description. Y'all check it out. I love you all. Y'all have a great day, and we'll be back tomorrow bright and early. Remember, Fed Minutes tomorrow. We also have a bunch of stuff Thursday and Friday. Massive week this week, chat. Massive week. I'll see you guys later. I love you all. Y'all have a great day.